Happening now, we'd like to welcome our viewers from across North America, around the world, and even all the way up in the northeast corner of the United States in Maine. My name is Wes Fryer, and this is the EdTech Situation Room, episode 91 for April the 4th, 2018. And I am delighted to be joined tonight by some very special friends who are podcasting innovators and early web heads and all kinds of wonderful people. So I am the director of technology here at the Cassidy School. I realize I got my Thunder shirt on today, but we have been kind of trying to get into spring, but it's been weird. And I think Easter this weekend was colder than it was Christmas. So anyway, it was a little above freezing, but you guys have probably been, you got a lot more weather to talk about. And we won't just talk weather on the show, but I want to send it all the way up to, I think, Wells. Well, actually, I'll send it to, are you in Kennebunk? Where are you tonight, Alice Barr?
South Portland, Maine.
South Portland. Very good.
So hi, I'm Alice Barr. I am the instructional tech coordinator at Yarmouth High School in Yarmouth, Maine. And I will send it on to the ski queen over there.
And I am Cheryl Oakes, and I am recently retired as of December 1st. And my part-time job now is the Actum, the main conference for October. And the rest of the time I am skiing, and today was 99 days.
Of consecutive skiing?
Not consecutive, but 99 days this season since November 20th or something.
Wow. Well, if you want to see Facebook Live on the slopes, I watched Cheryl recently, from the ski lift, and I was like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So tomorrow's a big day.
Tomorrow's going to be day 100. Yes.
All right. Special beverages and maybe you're going to do a couple of culls of lobster for dinner. Is that what?
Oh, I would love to. Not quite. Our friends are just getting their traps back in the water, so it'll be another week or so.
Okay, very good. Well, it's going to take me a minute with my rig tonight to get the chat up, but I see we've got a viewer, and we do want to encourage anybody who's watching us live to join our chat room that's next to our YouTube channel. We are going to talk some, at least, about some recent news for technology through an educational lens. But we want to encourage you, if you would want to check out not only the links we talk about during the show, but others that we don't have time to visit about, because there's always a few of those. edtechsr.com/links has the Google document where we have feverishly shared some different things and some Geeks of the Week and some other things. So I guess let's just talk about what's new in our lives, because we haven't really caught up in a while. So
I know. I heard the last show that your son was home for a break.
Yes. And, I would just call my mom that night. I was like, was it kind of sad when, the kids would leave? And so we're kind of living a different season of life. But yes, he was here with us for spring break, and his good friend, Fu, that has been his friend throughout high school and everything, who's going to OU, was with us for Easter, and we got to have a big meal together. Dad cooked a couple quiches that turned out, and he flew back to Colorado. So he's doing well. And Sarah's a senior, contemplating a gap year. We're going to go in 2 weeks to Washington, D.C. And there's a conference there called Atlas, which is for independent school tech directors and technology people. And I went there last year with Shelley in Burbank, and this year Felix Giacomino will be there, and some other folks that I've gotten to know. And anyways, we're going to turn it into a college visit. So she's going to get to see 3 different schools. Let's see, Emory and Henry and Shenandoah. And then right in the middle is the University of Virginia, which we just can't pass Charlottesville without, seeing that. And then Rachel's in 8th grade, and she's starring in Seussical Jr. tomorrow and Friday. She's one of the Bird Girls, and she's got over 800 subscribers on her YouTube channel. And how will I say this tactfully? It can be, the teen years are interesting years. So we'll just leave it at that. But things are going pretty well overall. So,
and Shelley?
And Shelley has made the change this year to come to our school. So after 4 years of Positive Tomorrows, teaching with one-to-one iPads, all homeless kids, and serving those families, she's now at the what we would say the best private school, best school experience, in our state. But we, I experienced that cognitive dissonance for 2 years, my first 2 years there, because everywhere has challenges, but it's not like, everything is a bed of roses. We've got, as a tech director, I have one other full-time person with me, and we support over 900 students and 170 faculty and staff. Wow. So, it's a challenge, but it's really been a great transition for our family, and we all, Rachel and Shelly and I, coming into what has been a fairly traditional school situation, which has not had, a lot of technology, and coming out of that one-to-one has been very interesting. But, we've found ways to find devices, and we've got Chromebooks, and our kids are doing an animal research project right now that I discovered this website called archive.org. I'll put that in the show notes, but it's a really wonderful place. Just, having your documentation or your attribution right there. And the kids are so quick. And she's doing a lot of coding. So she's actually on a code.org webinar, and she went to San Antonio here a couple of weeks ago. She was picked as an Oklahoma ambassador for elementary grades. And so she's, code, Scratch Junior, PBS Scratch Junior, and she may come to your neck of the woods. She really wants to come to the MIT Scratch Conference at the end of July. Great. And so anyway, we'll see if that can come about. But she's seeing her kids and their excitement with coding, just telling their stories, because I love it when kids have not gotten inhibited with their own drawing. So like everything with the 3rd and 4th graders, it's like their own drawing, and they're just all over with their stories and recording their voices. And so that, boy, that's good stuff. So anyway, that was a long update.
Yeah, but it's been a long time. Alice, I have to hear what you've been doing since December.
So recently I went to Dallastown, Pennsylvania with Kern Kelly and 2 of his students, the Tech Sherpas, and the 4 of us did a student tech conference for 6th graders. That was fantastic. So his 2 students, one of them did augmented reality. The other flew drones. Kern did some scripting in spreadsheets, and I did the coding. And it's interesting that you were just talking about kids being uninhibited with their drawing. And this was totally the case. We gave them like a starter place in the code, the Google Code environment, but it uses Scratch, and they just went crazy. They had so much fun. There's a racetrack, and they can change the cars and make them go faster and slower, and so they went crazy. It was really, really, really fun. I haven't taught 6th grade in a very long time. But it was really cool because we had 4 sessions, and the kids rotated through the sessions, and they were so cute. This was like a leadership program. And some of them came in bow ties and suspenders and dresses, and they were just really, really, really cute. It was a really fun day. And of course they brought the big drone with them. So they were flying that at lunchtime, and, it was just so much fun. And then today I had Google augmented reality team come to do the beta testing with high school kids, and 2 really neat, they're not Googlers, they're like consultants who came, and young, and talking to the kids about what AR is. And they have probably 25 lessons you could choose from. So I really have to give my teachers a hats off for taking the challenge, because there's not a lot of information, or there's some lessons, but they're not really lessons. They basically give you a slideshow with a bunch of pictures and say, this is what you're going to teach. But you don't get the training till that morning. And so we actually trained the entire staff this morning, which basically is putting them in groups of 2 or 3, they have a selfie stick with a phone, and you point it at a QR code and the object pops up and you can walk around the object.
Ooh.
And I mean, people were really excited about it. And then we had half-hour sessions all day long with the students, and teachers just totally embraced it, took the challenge, brought kids down without really knowing what they were going to do. And it was a really fun day. And one of the trainers asked at the end of every session, he really wanted honest feedback. And he would say to them, is there anything in this that you did this morning that wasn't engaging, that you didn't like? And not one student, was negative. So that was really interesting. They gave him some great feedback. So it was a kind of a cool day. I think when it comes out, I think it will be, I could see some uses for it. You have to kind of think of it as like going into a museum, kind of.
Was this the Google Expeditions beta? Peggy George is in our chat room. Hello, Peggy. And she was wondering if that's what this was.
Yes. It's the AR beta Expeditions. Yeah.
So more of a museum type experience than traveling places, or was it a mix of both?
So you have to think it's 3D objects, right? And so basically the 3D object is projecting over your environment. So for example, with dinosaurs, you point the phone at the QR code and a dinosaur pops up, right? So, and you can see the dinosaur from underneath, on top, all around. So that's really cool. But the next question is, how are we going to integrate that with curriculum? Because we're like right now, they're just showing, it's just objects.
Because there's not a creation level to it where they can make it yet, right? They're not basically taking tours that others have made.
Correct.
I was in Ohio a few weeks ago and got to sit in on an Apple session, and they were, showing off AR, and we had a chance to play, and it was, find a flat surface and then different objects. So yeah, I'm looking for that creative side as far as when we can make it ourselves or when we get to remix. And
so have you played around with the merge cubes at all?
I have one. I ordered it. Actually, I saw Felix Giacomino tweet about them being, very inexpensive here at Walmart. And for some reason, they bought a whole bunch of them. They're really cheap. And we've got a district that's buying them for all kinds of teachers. Yeah,
they were $1 at Walmart.
Yeah.
So I bought a bunch and I played around with it, and I was like, it's okay. However, I just learned the other day that you can create shapes in Onshape and bring them into the merge cube environment. And I will find those notes and put them in the show notes, and I haven't tried it yet, but I think that's the ticket, because if we can get the creative.
Well, or Minecraft, one of the neatest project last year probably was, we have our 6th grade social studies teacher that does a Roman unit studying Rome and architecture. And so the kids can build a physical diorama, but then they can use Tinkercad. So they create aqueducts and the Parthenon. And so they created them and they 3D printed them, but then we dropped them into Minecraft. And so then we were able to do some brief. It wasn't as much as I would have liked, and it'd be great. But one of them was like, oh, that's the Oculus and the Parthenon, and that should, be that's open. So cool. and then we're flying around, and explaining that. I mean, so if we could see that in the classroom, and bridging those kind of creative environments, I haven't even researched that, but if anybody knows of that, if there's a Minecraft to AR, I think there is. I think I saw something about that at one point, but
there's gotta be.
Yeah. That sounds really cool. I'm kind of like that too, though. I mean, I think the AR has been a flash in the pan, and it's really sexy and wow, and people get excited, but I haven't seen the meat of the let's create it, yet. But I think it's good. So hopefully.
Yeah.
All right, Cheryl, what's it like to be retired? Is it all you hoped it would be?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I've I've skied every day. I've been able to read what I want to read, watch movies and documentaries, listen to podcasts. No competition for this podcast, but, just some things that always went on the back burner, always went on the list, for Oh yeah, I'll do that later. So that's been fun. And then just being on this conference committee, chairing it and getting involved in like the backside of the conference. Alice and I were part of the Actum Conference Committee for years. But this is a whole different view and coordinating people. And we're looking at a new presentation software where people can go online, put their presentation, and then our whole conference committee will be able to go in and review it.
Oh, great.
So yeah, I think it's, and then it just has some other interactive pieces that it can take all of that data and then put it into a program or put it into an app. And so all of those things that we sat around a table with sticky notes, putting sessions into rooms and changing them is all been digitized. So
wow.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that would be good to have you share, get a little echo. Maybe you, Cheryl. Do you have any headset or earbuds?
No.
Okay. That's okay. It's gone now.
Okay.
Google heard me. AI, it all fixed. So if you all would just summarize briefly your experiences with one-to-one computing and devices and time, because you all are exceptionally unique in the swath of educators across the United States and the world. What does that look like at this point in terms of how long you all have been involved in one-to-one and what kinds of devices you've helped kids and teachers with?
Alice, do you want to start with the Mac side, and then I'll jump in on the other part?
Sure. So we've been one-to-one since 2004. We've been Mac all the time. So we went from iBooks to MacBook Airs. And now we have 11-inch MacBook Airs for all of our students in grades, well, let's see, now 5 through 12.
Which is about how many kids?
It is about, hold on, I have to do my math. It's a little over 1,000 kids. And we also went one-to-one grades 2 to 4 with iPads. And then we're like 2 to 1 in first grade with iPads. So, and basically how the programs works and how we've been able to fund it is that we have bought our MacBook Airs on a lease, a 4-year lease to own. At the end of the 4-year lease, we buy out the MacBooks, and for the last few years, they've been $49. So we'll just buy the entire set, and we then push those down. So in the state of Maine, just to be clear, grades 7 and 8 are funded by the state of Maine. 9 through 12 is a lease purchase. So, but at the end of the 7-8 time, you can buy out all those MacBooks as well. So like the last buyout that we did was grades 7 to 12. So we have a lot of computers. We've been able to push those down into the lower grades. But what we found was we really liked the iPad for the 2, 3, 4s. They use Seesaw, and so that's been a very powerful program for them to share work and be able to share it easily with parents and community. So yeah, we're kind of morphing away. I don't know if that exactly answers, but
oh no, absolutely. How about you, Cheryl?
In the school district that I was in, we started with the 7. Well, let me back up a little bit. Alice and I were involved in the training of 7,000 7th and 8th grade teachers when we first began this project. And I think there was 5 years of teacher training, professional development that went through SEED. And so that was, way back 2004, 5, 6, 7, till 10. And since then, Apple has still provided, and the Department of Education has still provided some training, but it's been on a district by district basis, so that you could say that your district wanted to learn how to use science tools, technology, digital tools, and how that would interact with your MacBooks and MacBook Airs and iPads. So it was more, you know, started out macro and then it got into the district level. And then when we had a shift in governors after Angus King left the governor program, the lease, well, the 7th and 8th graders continued to get the state-sponsored digital equipment, and then the lease programs expanded to grades 9 through 12. Then, with another governor, the devices went from being all Macs to some HP. I think there was a contract with HP and Apple, and so districts could choose which device they wanted to have. And so all of that is to say that it really has changed over the years, but the common theme is that putting devices in the hands of students has remained the same. Giving teachers some support has continued, but it's on a much
It's not as robust. It's not as robust,
right,
fully featured in all the support, professional development, and it's also fractured because it's not all Apple.
Right, right. So I think, you know, there was a period where it was really looking at the devices and what the device would be, and not looking at the teaching and learning that was, you know, involved because of that. So the other thing that we often hear when we go out of the state and present is that other school districts throughout the United States don't have the robust internet service that we have in our schools. And that was a huge component of the program, because you could bring in all these devices, and if you didn't support, if Apple hadn't supported, the state hadn't supported that, you just would have had spinning your wheels and not been able to really provide a change in teaching and learning. So that's kind of the big, you know, where we're at now is there's a big, the other part of that, there's a big upgrade going on now with the internet providers, and this part I don't understand all, but the racks and the servers that you have in your district. So that is starting to morph into something else. And they're hoping that the state is still going to provide that support for it, and that school districts don't have to provide their own support. And the other piece to this that is really remarkable is the main virtual library network has, it's paid for by, you know, from the State Department of Education. So every library, every school system has this virtual library, and all of the, Alice, what do you call all the different categories that people can have? The
online databases?
Yes.
Like subscriptions to those databases for research?
Yes.
That's all provided from the state. And so that has made a tremendous impact in throughout the state.
Well, fantastic. Well, that's good background. Here in the show notes, we'll have links to follow Alice and Cheryl, and we'll talk about that in the show. But why don't we jump into some links? And I think Cheryl, you dropped several of these in just as we were about to go on. Is there a particular tool? You've got a couple things in honor of some different things, or just open it up to what would you like to share and start with?
Sure. Well, let me just start with Autism Month, because this is right now, April. And I'm talking about any of these extensions or apps are from the Chrome browser. And the ones that I'm mentioning are free, but there's an app called Plasma, Plazma, and it's a sensory app that's free on your Chrome extension. And it's kind of like a lava lamp, and it just provides that calming influence for any of your challenged learners, challenged adults. It's a nice break throughout the day. The other one that I found was through WGBH in Boston. So it's a PBS, public broadcasting. And there's a program called Meet Plum and Her Friends. And there are these readers for young kiddos. And what I paired that with is my Geek of the Week that I'll talk about more in detail. But it's another extension in Chrome that allows the student and or teacher to provide differentiation options for challenged readers. You can slow down the rate for listening to text. And so all of these, that Claro tool that I'll talk about is readily accessible right on your screen, and it's a free one too. But it's my whole thing that I kept on looking at when I was looking for these links is just to see how PBS has kept up with the digital access that elementary students now have. And so they've really provided a lot of tools and stories and science stories that teachers can access.
Absolutely. Shelley and I have both participated in the PBS Digital Innovator Program, and she at ISTE a couple years ago got to do their meetup, and so we've gotten familiar with their tools, and they're finding their way. That Digital Innovator group is a little bit like an ADE group or a special Google group in terms of pulling teachers together. I think what's interesting about PBS, we were talking earlier about creation with AR. I mean, they have so much great content. And so a lot of it is to become aware of their content and to be able to consume it and to read it. I mean, I think we've gravitated, Shelley, especially to the PBS Scratch Junior app because, of course, computational thinking and coding, all of that, with PBS characters. But it is good to see PBS, and there's a lot of free resources out there that are very engaging to bring into your classroom. So can you tell us about Claro? Because that's an extension. Is that like a read to me extension, or what does it do?
Yes, it's an extension in Chrome, and it will allow you to, on the surface of a web page or even in that PBS, section of a reader, you can have that text read to you. Also in Claro, you can speak into it and it will type the text for you. So it's got a couple of different ways that you can use it. Really easy to use. And the reason that I picked the PBS, that particular link, is because I can just envision Shelley going into a classroom and she only has 5 minutes to set something up, and the kids would be able to manage that throughout the day. If it was a center, they would be able to listen to that or have a partner read or have the Claro read to them. So those two things paired together would be independent in a classroom.
Awesome. Is Claro kind of like read write
yes.
for Google? Is it you get some free and then subscribe sort of thing? Is it tied with that free text tools and read write for Google, or is it a different
No,
one?
It's a separate one.
Okay, good. Well, I've worked quite a bit with our learning resource team at our school and drawn on many of your shares for, different accessibility tools and things like that. And it's almost where, we're not one-to-one, but we have different teachers and people talking about it. And from an accessibility and a learning differences and just, providing differentiation, giving kids the opportunity to not just have it traditional, but have it read to them, have, pictures, have synonyms. It's those tools are phenomenal. Well, why don't we go down to Apple event? Last week, there was an Apple event. I watched the live chat. This one, they didn't have, an actual video live that you could watch. It was in Chicago. And we usually have some Apple links. And so I put in a Verge article from April 3rd. Apple hires Google's former AI boss to help improve Siri. So I think that is positive. It's interesting, all the news that's happening now, right, with Facebook, and we might talk a little bit about that, but they've just said, Zuckerberg's going to testify now on April 11th, and there's all this Cambridge Analytica. And so Google, we're not hearing a lot about Google, but, and they weren't a part of any of these incidents, which people debate whether they're hacks or not. But anyway, on Apple and their event, I don't know if you all I had shared this, but I did switch to an Android phone in November before I went to Egypt. And so that's been both good and bad. The best thing is it's a 5,000 milliamp battery and it cost $140. So like I actually didn't charge my phone last night and it lasted till 5 o'clock today. So that was not happening with my iPhone. It's a little bit like going back to an iPhone 4, but almost not as good because the speaker, if I do, play audio and then the microphone to record, I still use my iPad for that. But anyway, I just was curious on what y'all's thoughts on the Apple event are. And I guess I'm glad to see this announcement that Apple's going to try to tackle their AI, because we also, over the holidays, finally invested in smart assistants at the house, and the Google Home Mini went down to $30.
Yeah,
like 4 of them. So and I can listen to podcasts. I am Harry Potter. I mean, I have my Apple Pencil, right, with my stylus I'm drawing on, and that looks like a wand to me. And then if you say the words right, not only can you get it to play podcasts, but you can pause. And I just learned today, by the way, that there's a difference in pausing a podcast and stopping it with the Google Home, because when you say stop, then it records the timestamp, and I can go to another room with another Google Home and say, play it, and it will resume where I left off. So, I mean, that is really magical as far as the words, and then we have thunderstorms at night, in our bedroom all the time now, because we could have done that other ways, but I think that's Shelley's favorite part. Anyway, what do you all think about Apple, where they are with stuff? And have you all jumped into smart assistants? Do you have the HomePod? Is that right behind you there, Alice? Where are you?
No, I have an Alexa.
Oh, and we have to say Madam A, because there may be some people. That's right. Yeah, we'll trigger it. Okay.
Sorry. Sorry.
That's all right.
Forgot about that.
That's all right.
And I have an iPhone, so Siri on my can I say Siri?
You can say Siri. I think so.
Siri on my iPhone. It's really nice for playing music, but I don't use it a lot.
Yeah.
So for music and podcasts, yes, it's great. But other than that, I don't really, I don't want it to shop for me.
Yeah, I'm shop. Yeah, I do shop and add the items and that kind of thing. Well, and we don't order it, directly, but that's kind of scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But. We have ours. We have the Google Mini, and we have ours hooked up to our heat and our Nest, so we can control that here and at our house in Wells. So that has been a nice feature. We have a lot of people on weekends, and somebody's always got a question like, when is Villanova playing at the March Madness? So those questions just go out randomly. I love the jokes. So that's always fun to get a knock-knock joke or a dad joke. They love the dad jokes.
Now, is it different when you say tell me a riddle versus tell me a joke, or is that all the same? Or have you
I'm not sure.
Because some of the riddles, or there's some things now, they're like stories that you can interact and it'll give you some choices. Or anyway, we haven't jumped into that too much. And that's another place where it's going to be fun to see as we can create these. It refined things on Wikipedia. And when I went to Ohio and did a talk, I had my Google Mini define digital citizenship. And I tried to edit the Wikipedia article to see if I could change what she'd say. But that didn't work.
No. It's good for recipes.
Yeah.
I've done that. You don't have to flip pages or get your fingers all over your phone.
We do timers all the time, in the kitchen, as far as having a different, and we can have more than one timer, going. So that's a good thing. Well, what about the Apple event? iPads, I guess, are more of elementary for you all, Alice, and so do you guys have any carts, or do kids shoot stuff just on their phones and then move it over to their computers? And did you all feel like the earth moved with the Apple event, or any thoughts about it?
No, not really, because we just purchased our iPads last fall, so it's a done deal for a while. So we're not really looking. So I think we didn't really pay a whole lot of attention.
Right.
But I will say that I finally updated my phone the other day to iOS 11.
Whoa!
Boy, am I sorry I did that.
Oh, really?
my battery is running out so fast now. It's so frustrating.
Well, definitely look at your location services. I don't know
Yep.
if it's Android, but I've become more attuned to that. And it makes a huge difference for me to have those location services off. And to, just not have any other radios on when I don't need them.
No, I went through all that stuff, and
Really?
yeah, it's really frustrating. So,
well, you would think by now that stuff would be resolved because they've come out with multiple updates.
So maybe there's something on that I just haven't figured out yet. But anyway, that's all. That's the only thing about Apple.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, but I think down the road, I think this education device might be a good thing to give more kids access to technology. I mean, it's going to make it, or it sounds like it's going to make it, this less expensive iPad might make it easier for schools, but I don't know.
It's really the same though. I mean, we were buying them for $300. It's like they're just advertising the discount, I think, which is $30, and the pencil's a little less. But if you put a case with it, you're more like $450 or something like that.
Yeah.
It's interesting how Apple is making a bet that they want to keep the touchscreen separate, right? And I am so interested in what Microsoft is doing, although some of our experiences at school, we've got about 4 Surface Book users, and some of them love it. We've actually, with Google, we've had some playing problems. But with what we see with Chrome and the convertibles and all of that, I'm excited to see that mature. There's a Lenovo 300E Chromebook now that I don't know how this works, but it uses an actual graphite pencil. So you have a regular pencil with number 2 ink. Yes, and that's what you write on with your stylus. You don't have to have anything separate.
Oh my gosh.
And so we haven't piloted that yet, but that came out at CES and they're shipping now.
Wow.
But, we've got, teachers flipping their class with math and kids doing stuff. And so I started making Media Mondays this week at school. Oh. And so we did sketchnoting, and we had our iPads and got to give everyone a stylus who came. And anyway, I love that whole aspect, right, of being able to draw, and the Apple Pencil, it's magical. I'm not making that up, and I'm not, exaggerating. Rest your hand on it. Procreate is my favorite app for that, and I'm only, and it's like looking out at not just the Milky Way galaxy, but the whole universe of possibilities, and like I'm on one planet of brushes and colors, because it's just so incredible when you see the possibilities of what people can do. But anyway, Apple is still, I think, the innovation there. And then on the AirPlay, being wireless, we're having more and more Apple TVs, and our teachers are really enjoying being able to not have to be tethered to their desk and all that. We're definitely invested with MacBooks for most teachers, and Apple's leading in all that. But the whole thing about I think it must be the innovator's dilemma, because, we've got so much success with this iPad.
Yeah.
We're afraid to put it with a laptop. But if Apple does that, and maybe that's where iOS is going to merge with Mac OS. I mean, we've seen the App Store and those things happen. So,
well, given those Chromebooks that flip back and you can write on the other side, I can't imagine that isn't in Apple's future.
Yeah.
And they're taking away all the things that you can plug into it. So it's feeling more and more like the computer's turning into an iPad. I think you're right.
Peggy's asking in the chat room, Alice, do you have an iPhone 6? You might be eligible for battery replacement.
No, it's an iPhone 7. Thank you, Peggy. I wish. I wish.
Okay.
I don't know what are we doing for time here? You must be watching that.
We got about 20 minutes. So we'll do Geeks of the Week, with 5 or 10 minutes left. So we're doing fine.
Can I jump in and talk about this program that Actum, and we think about when Maine went 1-to-1 with 7th and 8th graders. We were kind of a leader, and whenever we went to workshops,
kind of a leader, the national leader. Yeah, absolutely.
People were always, asking how that happened. Well, here's, I think, the next jumping off spot. And the name of the website is teachwonder.com. And they've teamed up not only with our Actum group, which is our main technology group. But they've also teamed up with Colorado, Wyoming, New York, Montana, North Dakota, and South Dakota. And basically what it is a self-contained 12-hour professional development for teachers to learn how to code and use robotics in their classroom. And Maine and probably all these other states that I mentioned have a great price point for classroom teachers to buy into the professional development, which is normally like $300 or $400, and you get the robot. And I don't know if I should say what our price point is because I'm not sure what the other states have, but anyways.
I think you should say it. We're only going to have 500 people listen to this.
$25 for a class, for a person to get in the professional development and the robot. So
wow, that's phenomenal. Yeah. Phenomenal.
Yeah. Teachers have to be a member of Actum, which our memberships are very reasonable. But I just think that might be the next wave with merging coding and robotics, getting that into the hands of elementary teachers, middle school teachers. So it's not just the computer teacher, not just a science unit. It's anybody would be able to use this. And, you know, the fact that it's several states in the United States and Maine, it talks about having a community. And I think that's where when we were in the SEED project, getting teachers up to speed on teaching and learning, that I think is the key component that is really going to transform using this robotic, it's called Dash and Dot for 60-year-olds and up. And then they're coming out with the middle school version for 11-year-olds and up in June. So I just think that, you know, it's not only Maine. I don't want to say that it's, you know, Maine is leading this, but there are several other states where this is really going to be the next thing. And I think it's going to combine the STEM with the makerspace and creating.
Absolutely.
Great point.
And you know, robotics, we're still in somewhat early days at our school with makerspace and those kind of things. And you know, having robotics that, just to tell a personal story. So Rachel, our youngest, 8th grade, has taken 2 computer classes. She took a 7th grade, or maybe she's taken 3 actually. She had a 7th grade class. And anyway, this year she's done robotics, Lego robotics with Dr. Emerson. And last year with Dr. Emerson, we have Minecraft. And so he got into the Minecraft turtles, and, you know, she loves Minecraft and, you know, coded her turtles to build a tree and to make these things. But she really got set on fire with some excitement with the robotics, you know, and she'd come to me one day and say, Dad, are there jobs using this, you know? And it's like, yes, honey. But man, you really experience so much, you know, all kinds of things in the teen years, but the whole math anxiety, the whole, can I do it? You know, am I seeing myself as a capable math person? So in our high school, we have a much, I would say, math-oriented track for coding. We don't have the robotics. We've got something called Science Olympiad, which is wonderful. And we've won the Oklahoma State title and gone to nationals. I think the last 4 years, they just did that again this last weekend. But anyway, I really agree that robotics and the physicality of that, the way in which coding is manifested in the real world, and the excitement that happens around all that, I think it's something important for all schools to have. And so whether you're starting with after school or it's something that's finding its way into a maker space, that's exciting. Shelley has done some stuff with Wonder Workshop before as well. So, but I hadn't heard of this program, and this sounds pretty awesome. So yeah, maybe people need to sign up to be active members, and then they can participate. Yeah. That's awesome.
Suddenly our out-of-state membership goes flying through the roof.
That's right. What's up with all these Oklahoma subscribers?
Well, I think Teach Wonder has a component that's like the Makerspace kit. And I think the Dash and Dot is their robotics, one that they're starting up. And then the Q is the next level for that. So, so maybe there are people out there who have started with Teach Wonder with that makerspace type, creation.
Right. Well, that is superb stuff. Well, I'll do a quick article and then let's talk a little bit about, maybe we'll mention the DNS stuff quickly and then talk a little bit of Facebook. So I don't know if you all saw this. New York Times, March 20th, the company Ripple, they funded every single Donors Choose in the country. So $29 million of classroom projects. Yes, they just funded them all. If you haven't had a Donors Choose, boom, you were just funded.
Oh my gosh.
And that just happened. So what a wonderful thing. I mean, we've had our local foundations and different groups, doing some matches and stuff like that. When I was, teaching 4th and 5th grade STEM in Yukon, a couple years ago, that's how I got Spheros. And, it's a wonderful, wonderful program. So do you all have Donors Choose projects going? Has that been something that you've seen teachers do, or have you all written those yourselves?
I didn't write any, but I'm on their list. So I get emails about somebody in the neighboring towns has a Donor Choose and, would I like to be part of that? But I think that's great because number one, it was a classroom teacher, most likely, that wrote the program. And that means it's not going to go in a closet and sit someplace. It's going to get in the hands of kids.
And we have a very interesting person here in Maine who funds STEM. Right? Funds STEM. If you want to get a 3D printer, he'll fund it for you. And then, but what the flip side is that you have to show how you're using it in your classroom and he will come visit.
What?
And so, you
guys have all kinds of cool stuff up there.
I'll give him a shout out. His name's Dave Perloff.
Yep.
And he has funded probably, I don't even know how many schools with 3D printers, robotics. He's looking at, is he doing CNC or I'm not sure right now, but
laser cutters, maybe
laser cutters. He's just very interested in how basically STEM / these kinds of tools fit into classroom. What can we do with them and what's innovative about them? And boy, that's been awesome.
Yeah.
For so many schools to get that equipment.
That's great. If you want to drop in later, Alice, maybe an article, if there's anything about him or schools that have gotten his funding. Here's another quick one. I think this is we're doing a lot with digital citizenship. In fact, I'll plug our little website, digcit.us. It's one that we've set up for our school with short videos that have 4 or 5 questions that teachers can use either in lower, middle, or upper grades to have a conversation about a digital citizenship topic. And so anyway, we've talked a lot about, with parents. We had some parent events before spring break. We're about to bring parents and kids. Shelly's getting some of her 3rd graders to show some of their coding projects. And as part of what in these conversations, it's not just about, of course, how do we lock stuff down? How do we protect? What are you going to do with things, I mean, we did. I won't say who, but we actually blocked Snapchat for about 8 months for someone in our house. Sometimes you got to do these things, but anyway, it's not just about locking stuff down. It's also about recognizing how exciting and wonderful screens can be, and what kids can be unleashed to make and create and discover with these kinds of tools. So anyway, we've been talking about safety, and I'd mentioned this OpenDNS, which we used years ago when Alexander was younger. I learned about it at the Apple Store. At that time, that's how they were protecting their filtering when people would come use it. And it's a number that you put into the router, and that makes all the traffic that's just connected on your Wi-Fi to go through the filter. Well, a couple articles from April the 1st in The Verge. Cloudflare has a new service that they say will speed up your internet, but it's also a protection thing. And I put in an article from Ars Technica back in November of 2017, Quad 9. So here are the different, a lot of people, if you're into this, okay, Google is 8.8.8.8. So you can put that in, and sometimes that makes your internet go faster because you have to have DNS to convert the word CNN.com or whatever, into numbers. So quad 9 is 4 nines in a row, and they are focused on blocking malicious sites. So it's actually a way, kind of like your firewall does at school, where it's going to stop certain sites to say, wait a minute, we know, it's bad stuff here. And so now there's Cloudflare. And then I put in an article from Linux.com on April 3rd that actually compares all three of them, Cloudflare, Google, and Quad 9. And then OpenDNS too. Okay. So I don't know about Google X. I didn't even see that in the article headline. I just keyed in on Cloudflare. So anyway, that's a security thing. So have you all played with any of those? And what do you ever get asked about that, from parents in terms of home internet? What do we do? That kind of thing?
All the time.
What do you tell them?
So our recommendation is, first of all, have the computer in a central location. The rules for your family have to work for your family. So they're not the same everywhere for every family. So it kind of depends on how many kids and what your rules are about phones and all of that. We strongly recommend a time for kids to be done with using the internet. And then also, worst case scenario, you might have to turn your internet off at some point. I have not been a proponent of suggesting tools like this to block, because I feel like they change all the time.
Sure.
Or people might not have the expertise to
you take a responsibility too. Felix and I were talking about that last week. You make a recommendation. If it goes bad, guess who can come back and talk to. So,
and I guess what we're really trying to promote is responsibility, is helping kids be responsible for their internet use.
Right.
Yeah, I did just a quick, I did a search before we came on tonight just to see, what was out there for digital citizenship and for parenting. And really, it is the school's responsibility. I don't see physicians doing this for young families, guiding them on the specifics on technology, because, then you'd have to have some training in it. But really, it's that whole moderation, be involved, like Alice says, decide where the devices are going to be in your home environment. But it's just like telling your kid to eat their peas or come in out of the rain, But it's just the list has gotten longer in terms of all the things that you have to have in your parenting toolkit.
Yeah, parenting's more complex. The tool we've been using the last year is Circle by Disney, and then it's Circle Go, and it's a $100 white box that you put in your network, and then it can filter, but you can turn off individual apps. It also just tells you screen time. It tells you how many total hours, and then there's a thing we pay $5 a month for. So the girls both, even when they're on their data plans and they're not on Wi-Fi. They do not like it. Rachel does not like the fact I've told other parents about this, but that's been a good tool. An interesting conversation, which I just had this week with a parent. Have you all heard of Wait Till 8th?
No.
So it's an Austin parent who wanted to wait until 8th grade, not your age 8, but 8th grade, to give her child a phone. And so she has a website, and it's a pledge. And so they advocate for other parents to get other parents to sign this. And so we have a parent who's very, has strong feelings about that and has gotten some other parents to sign. So, we're going to have those conversations, because everything on that website is important. Alice mentioned, a time to quit, sleep. There's addictive tendencies that, all these apps. I had trouble last night. We have our teacher walkout happening this week in Oklahoma. They've got so much stuff going on. Anyway, they're good conversations to have, but I think we do have to be careful, as we make advice, and the tools are always changing.
Well, and something that's sort of come up in the last couple months maybe is is the game Fortnite. Have you run?
My mom sent me an article about it, and I've glanced but didn't read it. So tell me what your.
So it's kind of a mashup of. It's a multiplayer game. You play in a team. It's a I would call it a first-person shooter, although I think a lot of people don't agree with that. And it's kind of like a mashup of Minecraft and I don't know. It looks a little Second Life-y almost to me in some ways. And the kids are completely besotted with it.
Huh.
It's amazing how quick. It's kind of the same idea as when Pokemon Go came out. It's that.
Have you all seen the movie Ready Player One that came out Friday?
Yeah,
it's awesome. I just started to read the book, which I guess doesn't quite, the book, of course, is better. But wow, virtual reality, the world we're headed, and it's very dystopian, right? In fact, Oklahoma City is the original, or Norman, which is south of us, is the original place. They moved it to Ohio for the movie. But anyway, just as far as rich and poor and opportunities to escape, but like I'm reading the book, this isn't in the movie, but like he completely goes to school. He gets permission from his school district in the book to attend school completely, online, because every school online has every resource, has every, it's just beautiful and well-funded and anything. So that's anyway, kind of interesting with what's going on with strikes and all the stuff we're fighting for funding here. Okay, really quick. We'll run a little bit over time, but that's okay. Facebook. I downloaded all of my Facebook data last night. I don't know if you all have done that yet. Mine was over 600 megabytes. So I've got a link to a couple things here. How to download all your data from Facebook. It might be a wake-up call. That's Washington Post on March 27th. Also, how to download a copy of Everything Google Knows About You from CNBC on March 30th. We've talked about this before. Google's been very forthright. Go to history.google.com. I don't think there's any mysteries. They've got Google Takeout. For the first time, we've sent that out to students to say, before. Well, we're going to be even better this year, multiple months ahead of time. In fact, I've got to send that out. I think now is one of the first things to say, hey, graduation's coming. Be aware that your account will be canceled such and such date. After graduation, use Google Takeout, copy all your data to another account, etc. The Hacker News article from March 25th about Facebook collecting your Android call history and SMS data. I guess that is just an Android thing. It's not an iPhone user thing. And even though I'm using Android, I think you had to download Messenger or something else. It wasn't just Facebook. So anyway, I didn't have any phone data that's in there. But today's New York Times, Facebook says Cambridge Analytica harvested data of up to 87 million users. So that's more than before. And this includes Zuckerberg, them saying Zuckerberg's going to go before Congress on April 11th. So thoughts? Is this a big deal? Is this just we're kind of waking up to how we've been the product for many years with these things? Or what do y'all think?
Well, I've always been uneasy when I've clicked on something and it says, would you like me to notify all your contacts? Right. I'm like, no, but that's so easy to click right past if you're the happy clicker. Yep. So yeah.
And Facebook is just, I think, made it a little easier for you. I listened to the Note to Self podcast. That's one that Jason, who's on the show with me, he's doing dissertation writing. I love it. It's really a great podcast about being thoughtful with your technology. But some of the investigations they had done into Facebook, and this was into Cambridge way before this latest, hoopla, got me realizing the things that I like, the things that I've put on there. It's all part of this package. And I've got to confirm this, but I went through and cleared out all kinds of stuff that I deleted because I had just, I've been liking a lot of stuff on Facebook. I think all those things are still saved in my Facebook document. So that caused me last night. I tweeted this and said, if I would delete my phone number, does that really delete it? Because based on all the things it says are my interests and my likes, I have cleaned up big time. but I don't think it matters. And I heard the reference for this is Tech News Weekly, which is a Twit podcast. And they said that toothpaste doesn't go back in the tube, you know. And so with your data,
oh my gosh,
kind of wild to see all that, because I saw it and thought, wait a minute, I deleted that. Oops, nope, you really didn't. We still have it.
Well, Wes and Alice, what about the Google Home Minis and the Alexa?
Yeah.
She is always listening. And so we were having some pretty political conversations with the millennials a couple of weeks ago. And I said, I wanted to go over and unplug it.
Yeah. Yeah. We're poised to share even more data out there and to be susceptible to hacks. I think that, you know, we need regulation. It's been the Wild West for a long time. We would continue to be a naive public if we said, oh, Facebook will just regulate themselves. But it's a dangerous road. What is that going to mean for Google? Europe is doing the GPDR. I don't know what that acronym is, but, you know, they're making changes to how companies store their data, share their data, allow you to get your data. And one of the other articles I don't have in the notes, but Facebook said they're not going to take those European standards and put them across the world. They're going to just, you know, do that inside Europe. So I think we're going to see regulation. I think we're going to see some things happen. But you're right. You know, what are we going to share? And I haven't written a post about it, but I kind of want to defend Google, because I think they do a very honest job of trying not to be evil. Yes, they collect your information, but I could go in there today and delete my Google history, and I'm thinking I'm really deleting it now. Maybe not, but anyway, Alice, what do you think?
I agree with you. I think it's a question of being upfront, and that I feel like Facebook was being a little clandestine, behind the scenes stuff and really taking advantage. And I think I don't know, it's quite an education, I guess is the best way to say it. But I totally agree. I think Google's been upfront, always saying we collect your data. And yeah, I guess that's where I'm at.
Where it goes. Yeah. All right. Well, we probably better do some Geeks of the Week, and we were a little bit over the top of the hour. So I'll go first.
Already?
Yeah, I know. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, it's the top of the hour. Okay, I learned mine on this Tech News Weekly, which I've learned thanks to my Google Home, because I can say, Google, what's my briefing? Or, hey, Google. Well, I won't. I shouldn't say, hey, G, good morning, you know, and it tells me my weather, and then it goes into my news feed, which I have customized. So this is one of the podcasts I have. So this is a website called Busy Kids, Allowance Chores Kids Chore Chart app. And the thing that got me about this podcast was they were saying how today kids, more than any other generation, are growing up where money is an abstraction. They may rarely see cash. They may rarely use cash. Parents rarely do. And so the guy who designed this is a financial planner, and, you know, wanted it personally for his own kids. And so anyway, we haven't used it, and I just learned about it yesterday. But this idea, and then we got cryptocurrencies and all these things, like, what is money? But how do you develop good routines and habits with money? And then how does it become real? Almost like in a coding way, where robotics can make coding manifest and be real. With money, you know, it is a virtual thing now. And so anyway, that's my Geek of the Week. So Cheryl, what do you have?
Cool. Well, it's Claro that I've talked a little bit about already. What I liked about Claro is that it's just a simple toolbar that goes right over your screen, or if you opened up a PDF, it would go right over the PDF, and it works also with Google Docs. The paid version allows you to do speech to text. I love text help and read write, and that's usually my go-to. But I think this Claro software is just really easy to use, puts the toolbar right there, doesn't use too much of the resources on your computer, and anybody can manage it. First grader.
Awesome. Alice?
Well, my Geek of the Week is kind of a mashup of 12 augmented reality apps students can use today. So it's an article from eSchool News. It just talks about all the different apps that are out there that are worth trying. Yeah, it's not, I mean, it's very, as we talked earlier, it's very in its rudimentary stages, but I think, you know, seeing the engagement from kids today, and I work in high school, so kids can be cynical about stuff like this. I was pretty happy that nobody thought it wasn't engaging. So
yeah, that's right. Well, it's very new. You know, this is the absolute cutting edge stuff. Okay, and you got the Merge Cube object viewer, and then the Dave Perloff link too. So that is awesome. Okay, well, this has been the EdTech Situation Room. We're going to say where you can find us. So Wes Fryer, I'm W Fryer on Twitter, and I'm periodically still blogging on speedofcreativity.org, and do want to plug the digital citizenship website, digcit.us, as I'm continuing to work with others at our school. And hopefully we've got a contribute section. We'll have others that, you know, will either find or create narrated slideshows that summarize some of these topics, because Common Sense Media, many others have great curriculum, but it's a dynamic world. There's things always coming up, and it's important for us, depending upon, of course, the age and situation with students, you know, to go beyond some of the basic digital citizenship or safety kinds of lessons and things that we might do. So, Cheryl, where can people find you as you're skiing and enjoying the world of retirement?
Mostly I've been on Facebook Live doing my ski reports, but CherylOaks.com, I have a feeling that once this conference season gets going, I'll be a little more writing a little bit more there, and Cheryl Oaks 50 on Twitter.
All right. And Alice?
I'm at Alice Barr on Twitter, and I have alicebarr.com. And yeah, that's where you can find me.
All right. Well, we are here on most Wednesday nights, and generally we are at 9 p.m. Central, which works out to be 8 p.m. Mountain for Jason. Jason will be probably out another 2 weeks, although he had shared on Twitter and Facebook, some other places, that he got his first complete draft of his dissertation done.
Oh, wow.
And so, yay, that's a wonderful thing. So if you got suggestions for guests, I'll be, we've got it booked up through this week, and I need to scramble and find a couple guests here for the next couple weeks. So Peggy, if you've got any suggestions, Peggy, maybe you want to be on the show. You're our biggest fan. So let me know if you want to come. But anyway, we want to encourage everyone to subscribe. You can subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, my favorite app, for both iOS and Android, as well as the Google environment. If you're in the home environment, I'm not sure if Madam A is yet able to do that, but we're on edtechsr.com. You can subscribe on YouTube, and you can again catch those links on edtechsr.com/links. Thank you so much, Alice and Cheryl, for joining, and please just share our love with those up there that we know, and keep living life, enjoying it. And hopefully you're done with nor'easters, right? You only have 2 more, right?
No.
There's one more next week.
Oh no. Okay.
And 10 inches of snow tomorrow, right? Up north.
Yeah, they had. The county had 10 inches today. We only had 2.
Wow. Okay. We'll come visit in the fall.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Thank you for coming on an hour earlier.
Yes.
Of
Thank
course.
you so much.
Absolutely. It was wonderful to be with y'all. So
good to see you.
All right.
All right.
See y'all later.
Yep.
Bye.